Hello, everyone. Are you back again for your next lesson on MyDesigns? We have done all of the prep work for this moment. We've done our listings, we've done our mockups, and we're ready to go into the publishing process. So let's talk about how do I publish my listings in MyDesigns.
Welcome to Making Merch with Michelle, helping you design, sell, and scale your print-on-demand business.
Up until this point, we have prepared for the publication process. We have really just set the foundation to make all the publications much faster and simpler. Now I'm going to talk about some of the tricks that really bring it all together and take full advantage of the bulk process in MyDesign. We're going to look at this specifically for print-on-demand items. I'm not going to do digital yet. I may try to do that in another lesson later, but that's not my strength. So I'm going to start on just print-on-demand type of products for like t-shirts and things like that. The publication process is pretty much the same across the board, no matter which product that you use. So you can apply this to about anything. And I want to show you a few tips along the way to make our publishing profiles and just a few lessons that I've learned how to do black and white, how to do multi-item listings, things like that. Let's go ahead and jump into my screen so we can get started. Just to remind you, we're under the listings right now. I have a few just kind of sample products picked out here just to show you what this may look like. In our past tutorials, we created some of our mock-ups for these items, and we created some of the information, the background. In my list view, you can see that I have my Etsy listing information down here. And then this one I went ahead and made for us, and I just added some Shopify listings so I can show you the two different versions of how to make this happen. So let's go back to the grid view. Let's start with our 4 designs here for our teacher mode on for just a couple examples. I'm going to pick all 4 of these because, again, the bulk part is one of the best benefits of MyDesign. So I can do several like designs all at the same time. There are some limitations depending on which plan you purchase, but for example, you might be able to do 24 at a time or 48 at a time, or I think the highest plan, it's even maybe 100 or something. I can't remember exactly what that number is. But let's start with looking at these 4 designs and see how we can publish them all at the same time. The first thing we're going to do is come over here to the Publish button. If you click on Publish, you're going to see Public Profiles and My Profiles. You can also see the different platforms if you want to start from scratch. So you do an Etsy one and you can do a Shopify. You can do the POD products and the digital products. There are a lot of great public profiles. Feel free to select one of them. They have everything pre-filled in and ready to go for you. But I'm going to start you from scratch. So let's start with an Etsy profile today. And I'll show you how to create your own profile as well. So we're going to pick the print-on-demand product. The first thing you do is, okay, what am I going to publish this product on? I tend to like the 64,000s, but look down through here, you've got all the different products. And honestly, again, this process really applies to about all of them. And they have added all the Printify products now. There's just about everything that you can imagine to find on here. But if you want to find things a little bit quicker, I like to go to the search, type in my product, and here's the Gildan 64,000 product. One of the first things you're going to see is who do I want my print provider to be? You have the MyDesigns print providers to start with, which include MyDesigns, SwiftPod, and Printful. And then you also have the Printify print partners as well. So you have every print partner that they've pulled into the system for that also. This is a nice place if you have the Printify setup that you can pick and choose your printers and see that information. There's a little bit more to the bottom down here as well, just a little bit of information and background about it. Let's just go with the MyDesigns printer today. You can see all their color options, their sizes, their print locations, and some of the details. Notice that, for example, SwiftPod does front, back, and the sleeves. MyDesigns just does front, back, small through 3XL. I'm going to click on the 6400. I clicked on the MyDesigns. So the first thing that happens is you see the tab up here. This is a Gildan 6400. We're using the MyDesigns as the print partner. you see your file selection here, your size selection, your color selection, and your mockups. So it's pretty straightforward on this screen. Notice that the file slot comes up here to choose first. It defaults to the first one, the main file. That is why I select that file first all the time, because it kind of defaults in and it's ready to go. So I am going to say the shirts main file here. Now, you do have the canvas button here as well. If I needed to make a change to the sizing at this point, you can still do that. You can click on the canvas. Notice all 4 of your designs that we selected show up down here. And remember, we built all of these kind of the same size, so they'll all be set up and ready to go. So if you notice, our first grade teacher mode here, if we wanted to make this design just a little bit bigger, we can do that. And then if we want to apply that across the board to all of these designs, you can hit sync, and all of these designs will then catch up to that same size. Okay. I'm going to actually leave mine as is because I think the size is about right to start with. Here's where you can select your different sizes. If you don't want to include 3XL, for example, just unclick that. Most of the time, you're going to click what's available here. Now the fun part, let's look at our colors. Obviously, black is not going to be a good color on this design because the lettering is black here. I am going to start down here on the white just to give myself an example of what the white may look like. Now, I clicked on white, but I didn't see any updates here. You do have to click on white for the mock-up as well to see that. If you want to just kind of click them all and then take away some from there, you can hit select all. That creates all of them. You can hit select all on the mock-ups, and all of these mock-ups will start spinning as well. And that way it comes up for you to have examples to be able to pick what you want. Now, one little trick I'm going to tell you on this is that I like to do the very simple plain mock-up when I'm trying to decide on my colors. So if you go down here and you say add mock-up to this section here, I like to go through and find the mock-up that is just the plain front mock-up. Here's the Gildan 6400 plain front. For whatever reason, I think that's just easier to see the actual colors and the position on them, and it tends to be a little faster because it's a very simple mock-up. So I am going to keep that one as my mock-up right now, and I'm going to actually just delete this one. And I'm going to tell you why we're going to do that when we start saving this as our profile in the end here. So we have now the very simple mock-up. Let's select all the colors that I chose up here in my chart. So again, I can take a look and decide which colors do I want to use. Okay, and it's filling that all in for me. You can just click through all of them down here to take a look. So obviously, I don't like all of the darker colors on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and unclick a lot of the dark options. I tend to go down to maybe the royal and decide where do I want to start kind of my black text versus my white text. But you can see here then the royal looks pretty good. The turquoise, the red looks okay. Sometimes I go back and forth on whether I like red to have black or white text. But all of these options do kind of look okay for me. But I don't want to choose this many colors. The color paralysis decision is talked about pretty often, and it recommends you don't do more than like 6 to 8 colors at a time. Let's see if we can get this down to 6 to 8 colors instead. If I look through here, some of these I always feel like are really close, like the white and the natural, corn silk, sand, ice gray. They get to be a little close. I tend to like the sand, so I might take the natural off. The corn silk, maybe that's not as popular. I'm going to take that one off. Let's see. I have both the heather red and the regular red. Do I really need both of those? I like the heather color, so let's take the regular red off. Same thing maybe with the heather royal, sapphire, and heather indigo. I got tropical blue and I've got light blue. Heather royal, let's take a closer look. Maybe that's a little too dark, so let's take the heather royal off. Let's take the sapphire off, and let's keep the Actually, notice the C kind of disappears on this color because the C is like a blue color, right? Pay attention to the whole image when you're looking at that color is too close to the shade of this shirt. So we definitely want to take the heather indigo off as well. I'm not sure I love the green on this color. So let's see what we have left now. We have the red looks pretty good. Orange. That's a heather Irish green. That looks pretty good. You have I think that's an ice. Actually, that one is sport gray. Then you have the tropical blue and the gold, light blue. This is ice gray, etc. down through here. So we still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's pare that down a little bit more. Gold may not be the most popular color. Let's take it off. Let's see, what else do we have here? The light blue, the indigo. Sport gray is a very popular color. I'm not sure I love the orange. And I'm not actually sure I love the green here. So I'm going to take that one off too. So now we're down to one more choice here. We've got, and sometimes it's easy to go over here. I got white, sand, ice gray, light blue, tropical blue, sport gray, and heather red. The sand and the ice gray look pretty close. So let's take the ice gray off. Now I've got 6 colors. And I'm good to go on my color selection now, and I'm good to go on my size. Make sure that all of your mockups are checked here if you want to include all of those mockups in your listing. So let's talk about that a little bit too. Which mockups do you want to come across on your listing? When I bring this up first, again, I did that because I think it's quick and easy to see what colors that I want on my kind of plain, simple mockup, but that's probably not the mockups that I want to use in my listing profile. We're going to do an Etsy one first, so keep in mind that you only they've upped it to 20 images now, which is quite a bit more than they've ever had before. So your total down here of mockups to include is going to limit you to the right amount that you can include on Etsy. So let's take a look and see, is this the mockup I want to use? And what are my other things that I want to include? Because I may want to include my cards and things like that as well. Let's add another mockup. There's a lot of predefined mockups that you can use. I like a lot of the size charts that are available. And if you've included your mockups that you created yourself, they're going to show up down here as well. Keep in mind, this is where it's important. When you add your own mockup, you have to choose available in the publication process, or it won't show up here during this stage of the game. So make sure that's checked. If you're not seeing your mockup, that's the number one thing to check. Make sure it's available, and it's available for that product that you're looking at. We're looking at the 6400. So make sure that mockup's available specifically for that product. So let's see what we kind of like as far as mockups go here for our teachers. Not really a very specific teacher one, but let's out this one. That looks pretty good there. So I'm going to unclick all of these now because I don't want the plain mockup after all. And I'm going to select all of these so I have more model mockup. Maybe that's the one that I like. You can add more than one mockup here if you prefer some of the flat lay ones as well. You can maybe got a PE teacher design. You can add those. The one I would suggest, if you haven't made your cards already, I like to use their sizing charts, and there's a couple of different ones usually. So I like to select a size chart as one of my mockups, and then just decide for sure what all do you want to include. Before we make all those decisions on which colors to use, remember, we also have our additional images. We created these as prep time to get ready for our publishing process. If you've got your mockups included up here, you don't necessarily need to choose additional mockups you made unless you had something very specific that is not included in the publishing process. For example, maybe this mockup was outside of the publishing process, but you wanted to use it. You can include that. You can also include all your additional cards. So if you have your more information card, your color chart, your thank you cards, whatever cards that you like to put in there with Etsy, you have already defined them. Remember, we prepared all of our listings before we got to the publishing process. So I have, for example, my color card, and I want to include that on my listing as well. So these are the 2 cards I'm going to include from the additional information. I'm going to include this one because I did it outside of the publishing process. Now, what else do I want to include in here? Maybe I don't want all of them to be the apparel mock-up. Maybe I want a couple of these to be one of the flat lays. Notice when you check mark the colors, that is going to be the mock-up that goes across on your listing. So what you're trying to build here is all the mock-ups that you want to come across on your listing. And you have them show up here either by adding the additional images or by selecting one of these colors. We want to do the size chart, so let's definitely select that as well. And now we have several of our mock-ups showing. Let's see. I'm pretty sure we have corrected that you can have more than 10 these days for Etsy. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 12 mock-ups. So yes, it definitely let us add more than 10 now for Etsy. There are limitations if you use TikTok Shop or Amazon. That's some future information as they're adding those platforms as well. So we have a little variety here now. We have the different colors. We have every color represented. We have some flat lays. We have some plain mock-ups. We have some of our mock-ups that we made before. And then we have our color chart. The order that these appear in for Etsy is also important because they will appear in that order. So let's say that you want to start with your main mock-up, your first image that's going to be your thumbnail. I like this one pretty well, so we'll start with that. And then a lot of times people like to add the color chart and the size chart right after that. And then we have all of the additional just type of image mock-ups for all the different colors. The order that you do is definitely up to you. You can also do auto-generate a video mock-up if you have not generated one beforehand. What it will actually do is it will pick all of your mock-ups and turn them into a video. It automatically selects them all, but let's just turn that on so you have an example of what that will look like as well. You can also, again, generate a video before this if you have something else in mind instead of just the slideshow, or you want to add your own video. That has your option before you get to the publishing process, and you can add that in the additional images section as well. You can add videos. Okay, so this is our page here. I am going to end up saving this as my publishing profile. So let's say that you want to always use these colors and these mock-ups and this order, the additional ones, just everything that you're routinely doing over and over again. This is why we save these as our publishing profile, because it makes it much easier the next time that we go in to publish another listing. I'm going to save that now, but you actually don't have to save it until the very end, but just to show you what that kind of looks like. I'm going to say save as profile. That's going to be a new profile, and we're saving, give it any name that you want to that makes sense to you. But I'm going to say Etsy 6400 female favorite colors, for example. Maybe you want to say this is for the MyDesigns printer. Maybe you want to say it's for whatever it is that you want to add on here to make sense for your profile. So you just create your profile and you hit save. Now we're going to update that at the end just so that it stays updated with the additional information that we're going to put in. So the first page that we get to is your product and your mock-ups here. So we've selected the 6400, and now we've picked all of our colors and our mock-ups and our additional images. So this is ready to go. And we're going to go over now to populate the data. What shows up here is on our listing when we prepared this, again, we did the title, the description, the tags. We used Vision AI to help us come up with that. So this is where that shows up. Just to point out too, I didn't point this out earlier on the first page. You can go through each product here. In the preview, you can go to the next product. See, we're doing the math one, the English one, the preschool one. That's how you go through the different products, and you can do that on each stage of this process. So maybe you wanted to make sure shirt is at the end of each of these. You can actually still go on here and make changes on this page. So if there is a mistake, maybe you didn't want teaching squad after all as a tag, you can take that off here. Maybe over here, you didn't want the on mode one, etc. You can make changes, or if you didn't have any information at all, you forgot to do the Vision AI or add your information. If it's all blank here, you can add it again. You can even still use Vision AI to populate the data as well. Now, it's not going to save back to your listing that you've already worked on and got created, but during the publishing process, you're going to say, this is the information that I want to use. So you can go through and do that now instead of during the listing process if you wanted to make changes. You can even do that on the different listings as you go through them here. So we have our data now. We have that it's all correct and good to go. If there is a missing field here, it will not let you proceed to choose prices. It will make you fill out the title, the description, and the tags before you go on to the next part of the process. Let's look at our prices now and see what that looks like. Here's where you can make additions to prices, the options, the attributes. You can make this specific to how you like your listing to display. So let's start with the price, for example. Right now it's just priced at $10.70. That's probably not what we're going to use. That's only a $2.47 profit. You have different ways to make these changes over here. They're under the actions. So if I have all selected here and all colors, whatever action I do is going to apply to all sizes, all colors. If I wanted to only change the price of the small, then we change that to small. It's only going to update small. If you don't want to do the small light blue, you can update the small light blue, for example. I always start with all, and then I make any additional changes after I have done that, because then it catches all the sizes at one time, and maybe it's only the 2XL that I need to add a different price to. The different ways that you can set the prices, you can replace just the exact number that you want. If you want them all to be $29.95, you can increase by a certain amount. You can decrease as well, or you can increase by percent. I tend to like to set profit. That's a common one for me to use. Let's say that I want my profit to always be $20, and I'm going to apply that to all. Then you can see your approximate profit here, and now you can see your price is $28.23. Now, take into account, there's all kinds of tutorials about Etsy, pricing strategy, and technique. I'm not going to go into all those details, but you often have sales in your Etsy shop, so this may sound a little bit high, but if you're always running a 25 or a 30% off sale, then it is not going to be quite that high. That's why I just kind of set mine at 20, because I know there's going to be sales that happen here. Some people always like to have just the exact same number. Maybe you want them all to read $29.95. You can set that too. Pricing strategy is definitely up to you, but this gives you the tools to be able to do that. So I set $20 profit on everything. That automatically got my price up a little bit on my larger items. But if I did set everything to just a exact number, I wanted to make everything $28.95, for example, we can apply that as well. And then I only need my 2XLs to be $1 more. I can do $29.95 and apply. And then 3XLs, $1 more than that. So I can do $30.95 and apply. And that will set those prices also. The other things that I look at in this area are the options. So notice right now, we can make changes to our labels on size, on color, and we can even change what order that they come in. So if you like to use something other than small, medium, large, for example, if you don't want the word Heather in here, any of this can still be set to the way that you like them to be. And that's all done over here. So options, you can see you have your size. You can have prefixes and suffixes to that. Then you have your color, again, suffixes and prefixes to that. Maybe you always want your size to start with adult small. This kind of comes in handy in Etsy when you have multi-products in there. If we put adult in here and then a space, maybe even a line, see how this changes now to adult small. And that will apply to all the products in this listing. For the attributes, if you want small, medium, large to be something else, maybe you like small to always be a size 4 to 6. I don't know exactly what smalls are. but you can add that as well. I'm going to take that off though, because I'd like just small is fine for adults. And then you can again change these over here if you don't want to have as long of words. Maybe you just want tropical instead of tropical blue. You can apply that here as well, and it's going to update your entire listing. So you still have control of how things look over in this box. I'm going to show you examples in a little bit on how to do multi-product listings and things like that. That's where this becomes even more pertinent in our decision-making process. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. There is the load price from field option here. I have not used that too much before, but I think it's a way to set some standard prices and be able to just load directly from there. Okay, so now we've set our prices. We have our colors and our sizes and everything looking the way we want. And the last page we now go to is the preview publishing info. One thing to mention, if you happen to have picked way too many variants, Etsy and Shopify both have variant limits. If you have gone over that variant limit, it will not let you get past some of these screens. It will say too many variants. You need to go back and pick a few less. And that helps you to pare it down to just the exact number of variants or the limit that Etsy and Shopify applies. It's very good about giving you some parameters in there, some checks to make sure that you're not incorrectly publishing all of your listings. Now we've looked at all the details. We've entered the information. Now, here is the summary now. This is everything that we've chosen. And if you scroll down through here, you'll see that each one of the products that we're doing has that information as well. So you can see, again, the title, the tags, and the description. Right up front here, you can see the price range that we have just set. You can see the sizes and the colors for that product. All of that is over here and ready to go. The last thing you look at is, where am I publishing this to? Which Etsy store do I want to publish this to? So I'm going to use Etsy. I'm just going to put something in my Mockup store just so you kind of example what that looks like. You can say whether you want to start it in a draft or an active state. I tend to like to do draft to begin with. What's the category? You can actually go ahead and set, I think you can set all the way down. Yes. To t-shirts, if you're doing gender neutral adult tops and tees t-shirts, you can set that here so that's automatically filled out for you. And then you can also list your print partners down here. So, who made it, you have the options for another person or company, or I did, is it a finished product or not, and then who is your print partner. In this case, it is MyDesigns because that's who we picked in the beginning. You can select your shipping profiles from here as well, or you can let MyDesigns list the shipping profile. I tend not to like to use MyDesigns for that, so I have just a regular shipping profile. That way it's standard across the board. I can set that and I'm ready to go. Here is a key point, and we haven't talked about this quite as much. Maybe I'll show you an example of what that looks like. But if this was a personalized type of product, maybe you wanted to add the teacher's name or something to it, you can still select personalization pretty easy here. And then that will come across for your listing as well. You can say enter name here and how many character limits. Some people like to do examples of what to enter here, etc., and whether it's required or not. So you can have this set and ready to go. We didn't do personalization on this one, so I'm going to uncheck that for now. So we have now saved everything that we want filled out. If over and over again, you want these colors, you want these sizes, you want these images, you want it to price this way, the setup this way, everything exactly like this over and over again, that is where the power of the profiles come in. And I set that to begin with earlier. We've added some more information. We've added some details on here. So I'm going to save it again so you can update your existing profile. So let's type back in my Etsy. I have way too many profiles in here these days. Okay, yeah, Etsy 6400 female favorite colors is the one that we selected earlier. So you can say update existing. You can change the name at this stage if you want to, but here's where you can do your update. Now I've updated my profile. Yes, update. Now the next time I use this, that information's already filled in for us, and I'll show you an example of what that looks like in just a minute. So we filled out everything. That's all you have to do. You just pick all the details that you want. You have done that for all 4 products at the same time. And then when you're ready, you just hit publish and it's good to go. And I'll go ahead and publish this so I can show you what that looks like over on the Etsy side. You can see the listing is being published and it takes just a few minutes. You can also keep an eye up here on the jobs section. You can see that it is in process of publishing so that if the job failed or it didn't go across for some reason, you see the status of it here and that you can use that to rerun the jobs. You can't make any changes to your listing during that publishing process. So we're going to let that keep finishing up. So that was just a very basic, how do I publish to my store? And we went ahead and created a publishing profile during that time. Now, you didn't have to create the publishing profile. You could have just gone in and chose all those things and it just wouldn't be available for you to use again. But the power of MyDesigns is to do all these things in bulk and to do them faster. A lot of work in the prep, but once you get this prep done, then the repeatable process becomes easier and easier. Okay, all my jobs have completed now. I just want to show you, now that we've created that publishing profile, how quick it is if I wanted to repeat that. So let's pretend that I haven't done all of these listings already, that I haven't put them over, but I've already created my profile. So I have the 4 marked that I want to work with again. I'm not going to do this one yet because I'm going to show you some differences. But I have these 4 marked. And I'm going to hit publish. Now I can go to my profiles, my saved profiles, and I can find my Etsy 6400 favorite. Now you can always type in here to get a little closer, a little faster if you need to. But it tells you a little bit more what's in here. So if you have a lot of profiles, you can still see what is in this profile that you're looking at. I'm going to hit load profile. Now, if you've made final decisions here about these are the mockups I'm using, these are the colors, the prices, all those details that we just put in, you literally can go through and just boom, boom, go through each stage and say publish. So it comes up with exactly what you did before. Okay, yep, all looks good. I'm going to populate my data. Yep, that still looks good. My prices, I set all of that. It's good to go too. Preview. Boom, publish. So that is the example of how you do things in bulk and in mass and how quickly you can do these processes over and over again. You can still make changes here if you preloaded all your information, but you decided that I don't want this color and this color. Maybe it is a darker design. I can choose different colors. You can make all the changes you want here and still submit that with those changes now. What I tend to do is I will create a profile with kind of all of the details that I could possibly use. Like, I know this is not appropriate for this shirt, but maybe I will say, let's keep all of these colors as a potential of what I'm going to be using for my publication. So I'm going to pick all the colors. I've already got my mockups and things picked here. And maybe I want to add a couple of different mockups here. Next, again, I can go up to my 20 mockups, so we can add a few more. Set that, exactly the way you want that to look. And then when you are filling out the other data points, it's all pre-filled in for you. And then when you go to publish your next set of products in here, this is the max of what I can do, but you can go back and take off the colors that you don't want that are specific to that listing. There's all kinds of different ways that you can save profiles, and you can save a lot of different profiles. So maybe you have one for all colors. Maybe you have one for my favorite female colors, my favorite male colors, anything like that. You can save profiles over and over again based on what is your preference and workflow for managing the profiles. So let's talk about one more thing before we go into our black and white designs. In Etsy, you see a lot of times people will do multi-products in one listing. You have the option to pick a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a long sleeve tee, whatever it is that you want to choose. So I'm going to show you how to do that in your profiles as well, so that you have this multi-option listing. When we started off up here at the top, the very first thing we did was choose our Gildan 6400. But you can add a product from here as well. So if you click on that add, and let's say we want to do the Gildan 1800 sweatshirt also, we can do that as well. Again, you pick your provider that you want to do. We're using MyDesigns, so let's just stick with that as our option. And now we have all of our information that is specific to the Gildan 1800. So what are my sizes? What are my colors? What are my mock-ups? You're going to select all of that again. So let's say I want to do all the color options as a possibility. I'm going to add the mock-up that I want. I like, again, the size chart to go with that. I like to always start with the very basic mock-up because I find that quicker to pick all my choices. And then I like this flat lay mock-up, for example. You can choose all of that also here and set your profile up for these multi-product listings. So let's say I have my mock-up for the price list. I'm going to just leave them as all for now. Pick a couple more mock-ups here. Maybe I have to reduce the number of mock-ups I'm using over here if I hit my 20 limit. You're still going to have your total set of mock-ups here. Make sure you still arrange them the way that you want them. Let's see, I'm missing my... Did I set a color? Oh, I didn't set a color on yet. So here's my different color charts. Here's my different size charts. That I have them in that order as well, depending on how I like to display all of my information. Just set it to exactly how you want it to be here. But when this goes across to Etsy, it's going to look like one listing with all of these options. Let's choose one more product just for the heck of it. Let's also say we want to do a hoodie in here. Let's do a hoodie. Let's do MyDesigns. Again, let's pick all these colors and add a mock-up, and I'm just going to pick a couple mock-ups to get started here. I have my color chart. I have my flat lay mock-up. I'm still at only 18 mock-ups, so I could choose a couple more if I wanted to. Okay, now we've got the 20 for Etsy. Yep, notice it told us here, Etsy limit, 20 out of 20 images. I'm really glad Etsy added all these extra images because it does make it easier for you to decide which colors to use. Let's add my hoodie up here so I have all my size charts together. Now we've selected all of our different products. We go to the populate data. That's going to be the same, just the basic information that we had earlier. Here's where the difference comes in on how you want to set all of these up. The preview information. How do I want this to look when it comes across my listing? I think it gets a little tricky here because it just says adult small, but look at the sweatshirt. Sweatshirt small, Gildan 18.5, hoodie small. So you want to make sure that this kind of matches. So our Gildan, we don't want to just say adult small now. If we edit these attributes to distinguish the t-shirt from the sweatshirt from the hoodie, you need it this size or something to be able to reflect that. So instead of just adult small, we can do t-shirt here as our prefix. Takes that just a second. So now we have a t-shirt small, we have sweatshirt small, and we have hoodie small. And that's what's going to show up in that drop down in Etsy so that you can easily see which one is it that they're selecting. Of course, you can make changes to the colors and things like that too. And then you can save this profile again, just like we did before, so that you can come back to reuse this profile and everything is already set for you and you're ready to go. You would have to go in and set all your prices and everything as well. But this is how you do your multi-product listing. So I have more than one product and I wanted to show up in one listing. And now this will be your hoodie, your sweatshirt, your t-shirt all together. Here's the limit I was telling you about earlier. When you do multi-product listings, you're going to hit the limits quite a bit. Etsy has 400 variants, and right now we have 558 selected. So we would have to go back and take a few of these off, but we kind of had everything selected up here in the beginning. So let's get that down a little bit and have that make more sense for our listing. I think that probably should do it. Yeah, looks like we're more at 450. Take a couple more here. So let's see if that lets us go through $3.96. Etsy is $400 max, so that should, yes. Now we can go through and publish that. So again, it will give you some warnings if you've exceeded the limits or you're missing information or something like that. So I'm not going to publish this one, but I can show you how some of those publications look over here when we get to our Etsy. But again, this is now how you do a multi-product listing. So you can see we have a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and a hoodie that will be listed for all 4 of those designs, 4 different listings, and they're ready to go. You save your profile, and now you have another profile for multi-product, and you can use that profile over and over again. I'm going to cancel out of there. There's one last variation that's very popular for everyone to use, and I want to show you what that looks like as well. So I'm going to go back to our listings. So far, we talked about just a single color listing, but I know that one of the very common questions, how do I use black font versus white font? Because I need to choose different colors to reflect which font color I am using, and I want to still have that look like one product. So I have an example here with this product that I made. You can see here my black font, Teaching is my jam, and my white font. If you all have, I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but my cat is yelling at me in the background. She's probably wanting some food or something, but she yells at me all day long, so I'll ignore her for right now. So if you remember, we talked about during our listing process, we created graphics for both black and white font. So I have my first file slot here as the main shirt file, and I tend to put my darker graphics there first. And then I have another file slot for the alternate color. So now I have my white colors there as well. So that is how we will be able to prepare for a multi-product listing. Let's do a Shopify one this time so I can show you the difference of what the Shopify listings look like versus Etsy. There are some minor variations there for that. So let's create a Shopify POD product this time. I'm going to start with the same thing. Which product? Let's use Bella Canvas this time. Bella 3001. I'm just going to use SwiftPod printer this time. That is different. It is the same SwiftPod that Printify uses, but you're going through MyDesigns to use them versus Printify to do them. So if you don't have a Printify account, that's fine. You don't have to have a Printify account. You can do all your fulfillment through just MyDesigns. You just don't have quite as many print partners to use. So I have one shirt here, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the same shirt again. So let's add my Bella 3001 again. And let's use SwiftPod again. So now I have the Bella t-shirt 3001 listed twice. So I'm going to have one shirt design that uses the darker listing and the other design that uses the alternate color. So here on the first one, I'm going to use the dark one. So that's my first file that shows up. But on the second one, I'm going to use my alternate color. So that is the file that shows up. And then what I want to do is pick the appropriate colors for that. So obviously this is my darker design. I'm not going to use black. I'm going to use white and silver and pink. And let's just give one more. Let's do light blue. And then for my darker colors with the white font, maybe I want to use black and forest, purple, and army on these colors. So now you're saying for these colors, use this file, and for these colors, use this file. Now that's going to still just be one product over in Shopify or Etsy, but it gives you all the different color options with the appropriate print file attached. I probably didn't emphasize that as much earlier too, but in this publishing process, when you say this is the print file I want you to use, this is the one that is saved with that publication. So even on your listing where we store all of our data and information, if we make changes to the main file after that, it's not going to update for this publication, that it's going to always have this publication during this time. This is the file that it will use over and over again. So you can't update publications just by updating your listing file. There is a way to do that, but I'll show you a little later on that part. So let's see, what did we choose here? So I'm going to select all of these colors in my mockup. I need to add this mockup here. Select these colors as well. And look, now you can see that my lighter color shirts have the black font and my darker color shirts have the white font. And it's good to go. Ready to go immediately for you. Again, you can add anything you want here for additional mockups or additional images. Let's say that I want to use this one as an extra image. Let's say that I'm just going to use the plain mockups for Shopify. So the difference with Shopify and Etsy is that this mockup will be associated with the color of the variant in Shopify. So if you go through Shopify and you say, what does the pink one look like? Then it's going to exactly show you the pink variant. It doesn't do that in Etsy. You just have different images, but you don't really know which color is connected to. You can set that up over in Etsy, but I always found it to be a little complicated, so I never do. But it's very important to do that in Shopify. So it automatically does that for you. So if you say, I want to use the black color, and I've selected this black color mockup here, then it is going to associate that with the correct variable over in Shopify. So it really publishes a lot of the details for you. So there's very little that you have to do in Shopify to make all of this work. So I'm going to use just the plain mockups, and I'm going to use this one as just an extra mockup to display. Sometimes people like to do a lifestyle mockup to go along with your images or something like that. But you don't really select all the additional things over here like your cards and things like that. It's really just what are the colors, which mockup do I want to go with those colors, and is there any extra mockups to include as well. But now I have my dark and my light. Now there are a few key tips here that I'm going to show you to make sure this does show up as one product, one variant option for us. Let's populate the data again. Notice nothing came up here this time because it defaulted to the Etsy title, description, and tags, but I actually filled this all in on the Shopify title and tags that is on that template that we created. So this is the information I want to use this time because we're doing a Shopify one. So if I just hit refresh, yes, I can reload based on Shopify information, and now it brings that in from my listing that we had earlier here for us. We can still run Vision AI here as well, just be able to change that because look, I noticed I just did my description wrong earlier. So let me run Vision AI just for the description. Shopify data, you got the model. Let's do the description. It's a Bella 3001. Let's generate the data for that. It will tell me it's going to override it. And I want to say that's fine. I don't mind. Oh, I have to select the listing. Sorry. I was wondering why it was slowing down. You have to select which listings you want this to apply to. Yes, run it. And it's going to fill in then my description because I forgot to fill that out accurately earlier. So all of our details are here now. Let's go to the choose prices. Here is where it is very important to make sure this looks like one product over in Shopify with one option of t-shirt. So you don't want the first selection to be t-shirt and t-shirt number one. You want it to just be t-shirt, and then you have all the different color and size options that go with t-shirt. So you do need to make sure that this is the same label. This is your product label that shows up as a variant in Shopify, and you want these to match. So remember, in our edit options, we have labels. Again, that's your product label, and it says t-shirts. We want this one to also say t-shirts. They need to be exactly the same, so it is only one label And then the only differences are your colors and your options. You don't want to select two different types of shirts here. So very key point, make sure those match. Now, if you happened to have selected identical colors accidentally, let me show you what that looks like just so it makes sense. If I happen to do black on both of these, when I go over to this section, it's going to say, oh, wait a minute, you have a t-shirt and a t-shirt and you've got black listed twice. What do you want me to do with that information? Because it doesn't know how to handle that. So you can't have duplicate colors on the exact same label. When that label said t-shirt number 1, it didn't care because it thinks it's two different variants. But we don't want two different variants. We want one variant. So we can't have black twice. Wouldn't make sense to have black on a dark design anyways. So it will warn you if you have accidentally duplicated your color options there. Same thing here. You can set all your prices. I'm just going to set profit real quick of 15 just to do that a little faster for us. You do need to do that on both of these t-shirts. I set my profit as 15 here, but over here, I need to do that again. So set the profit as, 15, not 155. That would be a nice profit day, wouldn't it? Set your profits as 15. Now all your prices are going to match. Your additional attributes, colors, all of that can be adjusted as well too. If you want to change how the sizes are listed, maybe you don't want team in front of team purple, you can make that adjustment there. All of this can change. Now, one thing I will mention as a lesson learned, and I just recently found this, so I'll share it with you right off the bat. In my Shopify store, I actually like to show the color first and then the size. It just makes it easier to read on mobile. And I finally found that I can actually switch that over here. So I can bring this color option up here and the size option down here. And I just need to switch around the option labels. One of the hardest things to learn is what are these different things called over in Shopify. So you have different options, like option number 1, option number 2, option number 3, and then you have the option label. So option number 1 label is color, option number 2 label is size. And that is how kind of your different variants show up over in Shopify. So now I've switched it so my color is first and not my size. I want to go in on both of those. I changed the labels, but I still need to put the size one up here and the color one down here. Just drag and drop it. Again, color and size all set up now for me. If you wanted to do inventory, you can do that from here too. You can say set inventory. For print on demand, it can be large amounts. Sometimes there is a bug in Shopify, so it likes you to watch the inventory. It shouldn't be necessary, but if you ever do want to set inventory, you can do that here too. Okay. Now we have just t-shirts as one of our option labels. We have the color, we have the size, we have the prices, everything. We have that on both of our shirts. We have everything exactly like we like to see it. We want to preview this information. Let's set the rest of our details here. I am going to do that in one of my stores just to show you what that looks like. MyDesigns is your vendor. You can set it to draft. You can still set your category over here, so that field will pre-populate for you. You can set your status here. You can set the categories. Categories are a little different in Shopify than they are Etsy. You can say which collection you want this to go to, and it will sync with your collections as well. What is your product type? However you have that defined in Shopify. You can do some SEO fields here. You can set your shipping profile, and then your print partners and your details down here as well. You can still do personalization also. It has some fields in there for that. Same thing the way it does in Etsy. And just set all your details here. Let's save that profile now. This is a new one. So this is going to be my Shopify profile for the 3001. And I'm going to say these are what I just call my black and white color. So I know there's 2 color options on this profile. say my profile, and now you've created all of this stuff the first time, and the next time it will be there for you when you list another product. You can just click your profile and all this information is filled out and ready to go. Let's hit publish so I can just show you what this looks like over on my store as well. So let me think here. We have talked about just a basic listing, how you go through and publish that. We have talked about how you can do multi-product listings if you want to do a t-shirt, sweatshirt, and a hoodie, or more than that even in one product listing, and the nuances that you need to pay attention to when you do that. We've talked about using black and white graphics or dark and light graphics. It doesn't have to be black and white necessarily, but if you need different color graphics to go with the different color shirts, how we do that as well. So these are just a lot of the key points to be able to do a lot of the main listings that everybody goes through and does either on Etsy or on Shopify. The process is, again, about the same no matter what you're using. There's just a few differences between Shopify and Etsy. But the publishing profiles, again, I can't emphasize enough, that is one of your key points that you want to use to its fullest. And you're just going to have to find what kind of workflow works best for you. What degree of default information do you want to set up on your profiles? What does that look like for you? That workflow is just whatever makes your workflows make the most sense for you to be able to do things in bulk. So I think that is all the details over on the MyDesigns side. So let's take a look at what that looks like now over on the Etsy and the Shopify sites. So I published these just in my Mockup store because I don't have actual listings over here, but I wanted to give you an idea of what this would look like. So if you come over to your Etsy store and under your listings, I came to the draft section and noticed here are my 4 listings that we just created all at the same time in here. Let's look at what that looks like. Here's the title filled out. Here's all of your photos ready to go. The video that we did is in here too. Let's see if it'll play for us so you can see what that looks like. It's just going to be a slideshow of all your images that may or may not make sense for you if you're using your cards in here and stuff as well. But it is nice to just be able to quickly add a video here. So that's in there in the format that we talked about, the order that we had earlier. You can make changes, of course, at this point. Your thumbnails here, you can still adjust the size of your thumbnail. Your description's filled out. If there's any personalizations, your price and your inventory, you don't have to do anything to all of this. It's filled out and ready to go for you. If you want to add a little additional attributes to it, your tags are here. Your profiles are all connected here. If you want to auto update or not, add your return policy, what shop section you want to go in. Those things at the bottom you may want to still adjust, but most of the information is filled out and ready to go for you. And so all you really have to do is hit publish just to show you on a preview what that looks like. Now, this wasn't a multi-product listing, so we just see it's a t-shirt, so we just see the adult, small, medium, large. But if this had been multi-product, that's where you would have seen t-shirt small, sweatshirt small, hoodie small. You see all of those options in here. If you have a listing that even has some adult and some child stuff, you can even say adult t-shirt small, a youth t-shirt small, etc. So you just need to make sure those labels will make sense when they come out over here in one drop down for you. So you have your sizes, you have your colors, you have the prices, all that information is right here. So again, you don't have to change much over on the Etsy sides. There's a few details here at the bottom, and then you just hit publish, and those listings are ready to go. You can make changes over here if you want, but pretty much it's good and ready to go. Let's talk about Shopify. What does that look like on my Shopify store? So I brought up a store that I don't really use much here, but I wanted to show you what that product looked like. So here is my Teaching is my Jam t-shirt. I'm going to pull that up. You see the title, the description. You see all of the images that go with it here. You see the labels. Here's where I was telling you, remember the product label. That is one of your option variants. The label is the option name. So you see t-shirts, color, size. Now, this is where, just to show an example why you did not want two different t-shirts, because it would look like two different options down through here. So you don't want t-shirts and t-shirts one with all the same colors and size there. You just wanted to say t-shirt. So for example, t-shirts Army extra small, you don't want a t-shirt number one with those different options as well in it. That's where that is important. You have your tags over here. You have your type. Your template does not fill out automatically. That is one that you do need to make changes for over here. But I think that is only the key one now. We did it in drafts order, and then you just have to hit active when you're ready to go. But I think the templates and like your profiles, your catalogs and stuff, those still need to be added on this side, but it's very little. Pro tip, extra outside of MyDesigns and its functionality, I have found that Shopify flows is very handy to add the rest of these details. So you can make a flow and say, when I add a new product, if it says t-shirt, then automatically give it the correct template to go with it and automatically add it to these catalogs and these locations. You can do all that with Shopify flows. And if you didn't know, in 2026, Sidekick, your little buddy Sidekick over here, can do that for you, which honestly is just fascinating. He will actually do the work for you. So you don't even have to understand how to do Shopify flows. You just need to add that app, and you can say, hey, Sidekick, do X, Y, and Z for me, and it will set the flow up for you. So that's just an extra little pro side tip outside of MyDesigns that I've discovered lately that makes my listing process so much easier. I think that's really all of the details. I'm not going to get into huge detail over here, but if you do need to go back and see what was published already, there is a little trick to show that as well. So you're looking here right now at your listings. We're back at the listings page, but how do I know what was published in each of these locations? You have to go to, instead of your grid format, make sure you go to your list view where you're seeing all the details. So not grid, go into the list view and then go over here to the little globe, which is a publishing icon. So when you hit publish, now I can see that I published this design to this location. Here's all the details about Shopify and the information that goes with that publication. You can see that I did these over here to Etsy and the details about that. You can click on each of those and you can see all of the additional details. You can make some updates to some of the details and some of the variants here, but there's not a lot yet of changes you can make. They are very close to being able to do full edits over on the MyDesigns side and have that sync back to your Shopify store. I'm really looking forward to that, and I think that's coming soon. I'll do another video when that comes out. You can make a few more edits over on the Etsy side, but here's all your details again that we just went over, the things that we entered over on Etsy. You can make some edits on that as well and be able to sync that back up. Eventually, it's going to get to where you really can manage every detail over on MyDesigns, including updates and edits, and they will sync back over to your selling platform. So that's coming soon, and I will keep updating us as we do that. So I will say, folks, that I waited a little while to do this video because there are some changes to the publishing process coming out really soon. And I was hoping that would be done before I made this video, but I just couldn't hold out any longer. I went ahead and did this video, but there are some changes I think still coming up very soon. They're making some more improvements to the publishing process. So depending on how extreme those changes are, maybe I can just do a quick update video, or I may have to just reshoot this video all over again. We'll see how that looks. I think that is all for today. Again, I know that's a lot of information. Thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Or if you have other videos you would like to see, I'll see what I can do to get those out for you as well. So everyone have a great day. And again, thank you for stopping by my channel, and I'll talk to you again soon.